You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for your support of The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
It is a good day because we get to chat with Rehema today. And you all know Rehema because you hear her all the time here on KFUO. Didn't you say you ran into someone? They're like, wait, I know your voice from somewhere.
Yeah, actually, it was really interesting. I just came off of doing new student orientation at both seminaries, and I had seminary students who stopped me and said, I've heard you before. You're that voice on KFUO. And some of them asked for my signature, and I felt uncomfortable. But it's all good work of the Lord, right?
Amen. Amen.
Hashtag Lutheran famous.
Yes, I love it.
In studio with us, Rehema Kavugha, manager for Synod Relations with LCEF, Lutheran Church Extension Fund. Let's revisit what is LCEF's mission. What's the work of LCEF today?
So for over 40 years, LCEF has had the humble privilege of supporting workers, churches, schools, and organizations of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. We do that in a very simple way. We ask you to invest with us, and then we use those investments to help support the work of the church. And this is all made possible through the funds of our investors, which we are very grateful for.
So it's been, 2 years of pandemic now? Year and a half of pandemic?
3 years, something like that.
3 years?
Yeah.
10 years? I can't remember anymore.
It's a song that never ends.
Yes. So how has LCEF been doing, I don't know, since the last time we talked?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing really well, and I think we've been doing really well because the churches have been doing well. And so it's been great to just see how people have come out of the pandemic, returning to what we're going to call normal from now on. And so we've remained financially strong. We've been able to help support the work of the church through that. And it's a great time to be at LCEF.
Yeah, there were a lot of resources during the challenging times that LCEF worked together with congregations and districts to help provide so that we could continue to thrive during those times.
Exactly.
Not just survive, but thrive.
Yes, exactly.
So what are some of the stories about churches and schools and RSOs that and all that you do for, including church workers too?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot. It's October, Church Worker Pastor Appreciation Month. We were just talking about that. And LCEF has really been striving to work for our church workers. We do that in a variety of ways. We offer home loans at a great rate for our rostered church workers. And so that's a great opportunity if you're listening and haven't had a chance to check that out. And then in early July, we actually launched a new product called the Church Worker Steward Account, which is an investment specifically for rostered and lay church workers. It has an awesome rate, which we're trying to encourage church workers to do as part of financial wellness, to start saving for the future. And Church Worker Steward Account investors have additional resources at their fingertips once they become an investor. Some free swag, of course, because we love to do that. But then we're hoping to just be another resource for them moving on in the future.
Mm-hmm. And you have webinars that have been going on, all summer? Yeah,
we did a series all summer with some great feedback. And so we continue to do that as a resource for our church workers. And so we just finished the one called Growing in Christ, where you talk about physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional wellness. And so you could see those now through our YouTube channel. And this fall, we're actually digging into creativity. Which is a really big word, right? It can mean a lot of things, but we are specifically talking about creativity in the workplace. And so we've titled this webinar series, Creativity for a Dynamic Workplace.
Now, this takes us back a little bit. 2019, I think.
Yes.
The LCEF conference, there was a focus on creativity there as well. So it's just creativity
begets creativity.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really, really does. Yeah. And so our speakers, especially this time, are focusing on what you can do, whether you are an administrator or play a leadership role in your workplace, or even if you don't play a leadership role and you show up, how can you contribute to make your space as creative as possible? And then you throw in just this dynamic of working at home, working in the office, and a little bit of both, how do you still get productivity, creativity in that space when it looks just a little bit different? So I'm really excited for that. And our speakers are just very different to kind of speak into that idea moving forward.
Can you think of, I know this is really off the cuff, can you think of an example of something like when we were all learning together about creativity at the LCEF conference a couple of years ago? This was pre-COVID, so it might have been wiped from our memories, but something that you walked away from that conference with when learning about creativity and then were able to implement, how has that made a difference for you? And I know I'm sorry, that was a really big question. That
is a really big question. So, at our 2019 Fall Leadership Conference, we had the speaker from Disney. And so to really just hear, to think outside the box, and that's such a common phrase, but I'm not going to say it as eloquent as he said it in his talk. And I also read his book afterwards, Ed Catmull. And he just did a great job of making you think of, is red really red, or is it actually the flow of all of these things? So, I've seen that in what I think as I interact with people, to just say, that's great that you have those thoughts, but let's, especially LCF, we're about meeting where you're at and pushing you beyond what you may think that you're able to do. And again, we've seen that in so many of our churches when they go through a capital campaign and they think, we only need $25,000. But when they think outside the box, when they get everyone engaged, which I think is a huge part of creativity, they've been able to get double, triple, even quadruple that initial amount, which was way beyond their scope. So that's little me, but a little church, little LCEF. Yeah. Throw it all in together, spice it up.
So then bring us then to the upcoming webinars and the speakers that will be speaking in these webinars that are coming up soon.
Yeah, so what I'm excited about is just the variety of our two speakers. One of them is the former chief marketing officer for Chick-fil-A. We all know Chick-fil-A. And
get some nuggets.
Yeah. that Chick-fil-A sauce.
It's a webinar. You could totally eat your Chick-fil-A while you're watching the webinar.
You totally could.
The full immersion experience.
And yet at the same time, right, especially during the pandemic, I feel like it was heightened even more. But even before that, you pull up and it's some of the most friendliest service that you've ever seen. And there's a reason behind that. And it's clearly successful. And so Steve Robinson, who's the speaker, is really going to talk about how he really led the charge for the culture by breaking some rules, right? In the way in which they do it. It's the fastest drive-through service I've ever experienced. And it's a place that, no matter how long the line is, I'm like, it's still going to just take 15 minutes. It always just takes 15 minutes.
Did you, if even that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did either of you see the article? This has been more than a year now, that there was, I think it was in North Carolina, a community that was having trouble getting people through COVID testing.
Yes.
They were doing drive-through COVID testing. And who did they call in to help?
Chick-fil-A. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So Steve's going to kind of talk about that and really, that's one aspect, closing on Sundays, making sure that every leader's character and values align with the vision that's larger than, and so I'm really excited to hear his story and just how that can impact our workplace today. So that's one side of the spectrum. Then we go on the complete opposite side, and actually on Veterans Day itself, Mike Ibershoff, who is the former commander of the USS Benfold, he's going to share the powerful story of his ship's transformation from its near worst to the best performing ship in the entire Navy. So that's they have rules and regulations, and they, for lack of a better term, run a tight ship. And so what does that transformation look like? Yeah, literally they do. And so the lessons that he's learned, and obviously he's taken it that step forward and already said, these are the things that I think can apply to every organization. And that's that leadership matters and culture is everything. So he really leans upon both of them, upon that word culture, but they do it in very creative ways. And obviously both of those landscapes allow for that dynamic workplace. So really excited for that.
Yeah. So why creativity? Why this now?
Yeah, so I think I touched a little bit upon this earlier. It's really because our workplace has changed, what it looks like, and the reality is it's going to continue to change. And so we recognize that, and I think people have lived under the construct of you have to be in the same place in order to do dynamic work. But the reality is you can be anywhere in the world and still be making a difference for the organization in which you've worked for. So LCEF recognizes this, and we wanted to provide couple of speakers and a time and opportunity for people to learn and hopefully to have conversations and take that back to their workplace. And so these webinars in November are not only for rostered and lay church workers, but we are looking for anybody who works in the church, and these can apply to our church at large, but to any of your work environments, no matter what you do. So
how do we get connected? How do we get to be a part of these webinars?
Yeah, so they are on November 4th and November 11th at 2 p.m. Central, and it'll be using a Zoom format. So you can register by going to lcef.org/webinars and sign up to get an invitation. Some of our listeners are already on the LCEF mailing list, and so look out for an email next week with the invitation, and we encourage you to share it with those around you in your community. And if for some reason it's been a couple of weeks and you haven't heard anything, you can always give us a call at 800-843-5233.
Very good. So the webinar is coming up November 4th and November 11th. Go to lcef.org/webinars.
Correct.
And you can find more information there. Check your email this week, too, as well. Those emails are coming out with invitations this week. Our guest today, Rehema Kavugha, manager for Synod Relations at LCEF. Always good to chat with you, and thanks so much for these great insights on creativity.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.